Welcome to the Love, Sex, and Leadership podcast, where you can discover simple tantric teachings to embody your true power, awaken your soul's wisdom, and live an inspired life as a natural, intuitive, and heart-centered leader. When I say being a leader, it's a recognition that there's not another human like you on this planet. There's nobody on this planet that's gone through all of the situations, all of the experiences, all the times you've fallen flat on your fucking ass and still have gotten up over and over. There's not another human like you out there. And if we look out in the world right now, there's some things changing. We can all have many perspectives to it. Between technology, between politics, between humanitarian needs, between world population, between abuse, between all these different things that are happening. And I know for myself, I've gotten at times in my life overwhelmed by that. Overwhelmed by a sense of, well, who am I to make a difference? And what I always return to is, who am I not make a difference? Who are you not to stand up and to actually stand for what you believe and to utilize this God-given instrument of a body to make that difference, whatever that may be? And I'm not one who's going to come here and say, oh, let's make world peace, because I think that's bullshit. Peace and war create each other. The people that are protesting for peace are creating war. You ever thought about that? So anything in our mind that we recognize we have a judgment on, we actually create more of. We learned that from our shadow day. So inside of this grand organized design of life, then you have a day-to-day decision on how you get to show up. Do you show up playing small or being simple? Maybe, and that could be your soul's dharma. But if you know you're going to bed every night with a feeling inside of, there's something more inside, there's something more that wants to be shared, expressed. I know one of the things I learned about myself the first time I did a human design reading many years ago, older friend of mine in California. She said, I'm a generator. If I just go and go and go, by the time I hit the pillow at the end of the night, I crash. And if you've spoken to any beloved of mine who sleeps next to me, it's usually about a 4 or 5 second countdown. 5, usually they never get to 1. That's just how I've learned how to utilize this system inside of me. And I also realized a while back, through some of my own soul initiation journeys, the places where my ego was identified to wanting to be a difference and make a change. And I actually had to let that part of me die in order to let myself be a conduit and a vessel for spirit to move through me. How many of you know that feeling inside? It's like a flow state. And I find for me at this point, I can't really get off the train, even if I tried. I've tried a couple times, but it doesn't really work. Because I know if I'm not living and breathing according to what's alive inside of the purpose and the soul's wisdom inside of me, then when the end of the night comes, I literally can't sleep. Because my mind is just circulating around, and there's, whether you call it anxiety, I just know that there's stuff inside of me that isn't resonating, that isn't aligned. Take a deep breath in. And the reality for many of us is often our voice at a young age can get suppressed, can get pushed down. We can be told to not play so big, to not speak up so much, to not be the loud voice in the room. So all of that programming through time can have the effect of, well, who am I to not speak up? Who am I to not follow my soul's truth? Just as I said before, who are you to not do that? Right? That's, in my opinion, the reason and the essence of your incarnation here. Yeah, we're here to have joy and to have fun, and that's also why I love this field of Tantra, because what it's shown me is that I can live into my soul's purpose, and I can ask myself every day, God, Goddess, how can I be of service today? With joy, laughter, and abundance, and not the self-sacrificing service that sometimes pushes you down into a pit that makes you burn out. How many of you have burnt out before? Yeah, we burn out from the place of not self-sourcing, coming back into our own places of self-love, this journey that we've been on in the chakras. We burn out in our capacity to express our truth, to express your truth, if you don't know love from within. Burn out if you're trying to constantly make others happy and not taking care of yourself. You burn out if you're trying to fall into the rat race of civilization, trying to find happiness outside of yourself. It certainly can be there, but if it's not here, I've worked with and I work with millionaires, billionaires, people that have more money than they know what to do with, and they're empty inside. I've also worked with people that have almost nothing and they're fulfilled from within. So it's not about money, of course, but it's great to be able to be in your soul's residence and manifest abundance. Absolutely celebrate that. But if the actions you're taking are only trying to get the pat on your back from your mother or father that you never got, eventually, no matter how much you do or don't do, there'll be a sense of, I'm still empty. So the unique expression, just like every single voice on this planet, has a unique tonality, has a unique vibration. My voice, your voice, every single voice comes from our life's experiences, exemplifying and expressing through you. The people that you impact after leaving this retreat is entirely different than myself, than Tara. The people that you connect to, that you speak to, that you reach in social media, that you reach in your local community are different. And the question that I want to impose is, what's the being or the difference that you want to make? Can you love thy neighbor? Can you be the change you wish to see on this planet? As Gandhi said it beautifully. And can you know thyself? As Hippocrates said, to know thyself sometimes is the toughest journey that we go on. But to know thyself is actually the greatest gift that we can do, because in knowing thyself, you know how to express through this self. By not trying to be someone else. In marketing and social media, they love to try to sell you something else. I don't want you to be like me. I don't think Tara does either. Because there's just as many fucked up things about me as there are brilliant things. That's one of the things I also had to recognize when I came on this journey of awakening, of mindfulness, of speaking and teaching. And recognizing so many people trying to sell their life's blueprint as the gateway for everyone else. And I think that's bullshit. It's worked for you, great, you've learned some tools. But if we actually look at the tools that people are selling, nothing's new. Nothing's new. We've just put the copyright signal to it because we want to take ownership that isn't even something to own. Our personalities love to own this stuff. We love to create businesses around it, and it's not negating that. It's to celebrate it, but to also recognize the humility of it. The humility of every single time. For me, I put this microphone in my hand, I have an idea of what's going to come through me. But the moment my mind or my ego gets identified to it, I get in my own way. How many of you know when you get in your own way? And you're like, fuck, damn. And it's not a matter of trying to get rid of the ego that sometimes controls this voice. It's making friends with it. Because the ego also supports. I know there's places when I do put this microphone in my hand that having a strong identified ego helps me relate to the crowd to which I'm speaking to. But then through that identification, I can actually help them disidentify with the ego that's relating to me. I don't know if you follow that. But that's actually where the soul begins to awaken. And so if we look at this body, and we started to rise some of this clearing energy from our base, our animal, our emotions, our sexuality. And as we rise up in the chakras, there's also a recognition that a lot of us tend to be in our mind a lot. We'll be teaching you some very specific practices to work with your mind on how to balance and equilibrate your thoughts and perceptions. But this energy, when you let this energy descend, it meets at your heart. And your heart is this place of knowing the essence of your soul, but then to speak the essence of your soul in the world comes from the essence from your throat. And this is a masculine pole in our body. So all beings, that capacity to speak your voice, but to speak your voice as the representation of the soul inside of you means that there's a conscious understanding of the personality that might try to get in the way of your soul's essence. And when you can see that differentiation and be able to speak and communicate from that place, that the way in which people will receive you is vastly different. Because what is dying is some old totalitarian ways of people controlling others. And what is being birthed by individuals like Tara and I and all of you is a group field where we rise each other up, where I look around, as I said the other day, every single one of you is a genius, is a guru, is a living, breathing inspiration, a manifestation of God on two legs that has a divine destiny to make a difference on this planet. Whatever that difference is, whether that's birthing something or birthing someone. But what I do know about the masculine pole of purpose is a purpose-driven life, for me, creates joy and ease. And I've had times of making a bunch of money, but not feeling like I was on purpose and feeling empty inside. But now, this thing that I do around the world, I guess it's work, but I love it. And that's taken me time to recognize the gifts inside of me of my own boastful, strong Americano voice that I have my own love-hate relationship with. But I know that that destiny that it took me in, of growing up in the US and having classes at a young age of public speaking and working through those challenges at a very young age, I was able to put a microphone in my hand at 25 years old, and even that was older compared to some I've seen. And from that was able to grasp this capacity to initially just have a level of self-satisfaction, and meeting my own ego, then eventually I realized it was something way beyond me. It actually had nothing to do with Aaron as a personality. It had to do with a recognition that I knew someday on my deathbed, I didn't want to look back and say, I didn't give it my all. I wanted to be able to say I lived deeply. I loved completely. And I utilized all of the skills and resources and all the failures of my life to the best of my ability to be a beneficial presence on this planet. And that's going to mean something uniquely different for every one of you. There's a vibrational alignment of that, the same way that there's a vibration, a voice that speaks through you. And I know that the voices and the people that I reach are different than the one Tara reaches, are different than the one Arya reaches. But collectively, we together as a tribe, I feel, can say to humanity, like, wake the fuck up. Because things are shifting and changing. And not wake up and you need to listen to me, but wake up and remember who you really are. Wake up and remember that you are a divine inspiration of love, living and breathing this human experience. And I've never met an individual who's tapped into that level of soul awareness and hasn't been able to live from that space. When you tap into that awareness, things naturally die. Of course it's a death process, because I'm not the same human I was a year ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago. The same way the cells in my body are not the same either. And the human that you were walking into this retreat is going to be different from the being that walks away. And then in that you have a choice. Do you return to status quo of how you were before? Or do you change the trajectory of how you get to show up moving forward? By aligning your heart, by feeling your emotions, by expressing your wild, beautiful, sensual sexuality, and by expressing the beauty of your voice that's unlike anyone else on this planet. That, I know more than anything, is what will truly make a difference. Whatever that difference is going to be.